Hello, I'm Seamaster51, and these are my Week 3 NFL predictions. Last week I went 10-6, and I am now 22-10 on the season. Our first game of Week 3, we have Dolphins versus Bills. We're going to play on Thursday night. The Dolphins are looking like a complete mess right now. Still haven't won a game yet. And then you have the Bills who are having one heck of a season and who are 2-0. I'm gonna pick the Bills to win an easy game versus the Dolphins and move to 3-0 in the season. Okay, we're gonna go like this. And then we're going to skip over these two games for now. Okay, but let's begin with the Sunday games. First, we have Colts versus Titans. You know, the Colts are looking pretty good with Daniel Jones this season. Last week, they got a last-second victory versus the Broncos. Even though they had originally missed the game-winning field goal, but the Broncos were called for a personal foul, and so the Colts got a second chance and ended up making the game-winning field goal the second time around. But anyways, I'm gonna pick the Colts to win and move to 3-0 in the season. Steelers versus Patriots. I was saying right here that the Steelers are a 1 to 1.5 point favorite versus the Patriots. But anyways, this will be my first upset of the week, because this week I have two upsets of the week. I'm picking the Patriots to win. Texans versus Jaguars. The Texans, who lost another close game on Monday night versus the Bucks. This right here is a must win. They cannot afford to start 0-3 on the season, because if they do start 0-3, then what are the odds that they still make the playoffs? Like less than 10%, maybe. So I'm gonna pick the Texans to win and get their first win of the season. Broncos versus Chargers. The Broncos lost a heartbreaker versus the Colts last Sunday. And the Chargers, they're looking really good this year. This is also an AFC West battle. It's easy, and I'm going to pick the Chargers to win. Especially since this game is in LA. Bengals versus Vikings. Both of the starting quarterbacks for these two teams got injured on Sunday. Joe Burrow got injured with a turf toe injury that's pretty serious, and they're saying that he might even miss up to 3 months. Which means that, who knows, he might not even come back until right around Christmas time. And that's if the Bengals are still in contention, assuming. And then you got the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy also got injured. I haven't checked what his exact injury is as of yet, but he might miss a few weeks as well. But anyways, for this game, the Bengals are going to start Jake Browning at quarterback, and the Vikings will start Carson Wentz at quarterback. I think Carson Wentz is a better backup quarterback of the two. So because of that, I'm going to pick the Vikings to win. Jets versus Bucks. The Bucks, their first 2 weeks of the season, they've had two close wins. I think they win this game and they might win by like 10 points or something. I don't think it'll be as close as their first two wins have been. Raiders versus Commanders. You know, Jaden Daniels is also injured, and I haven't checked if he's gonna play in this game, but assuming that he is, I'll pick the Commanders to win, because I did hear that he injured his PCL, I think it was. And then Geno Smith, he threw 3 interceptions on Monday night against the Chargers. Yeah, he wasn't very good, to be honest. Okay, Packers versus the Browns. You know, the Browns they've had a pretty rough season so far, sitting at 0-2. And then you got the Packers, who right now they might be, if not the best team in the NFC, the second best team at worst. Them and the Eagles are looking like the two best teams in the NFC so far. So I'm gonna pick the Packers to win. In these two games, we'll skip them for now. Okay, Rams versus Eagles. You know, this game could go either way. But since it's in Philly, I'll pick the Eagles to win. Falcons versus Panthers. This will be my second upset of the week. It's saying right here that the Falcons are 3.5 to 5.5 point favorites. You know, since these are two NFC South opponents, you know, they know each other really well, and you know, upsets always happen within teams that play each other in their division. So I'm going to pick the Panthers to win. And if they do win, that'll put them at 1-2. That'll give them their first win of the season. Okay, Saints versus Seahawks. You know, the Saints are having a rough season, so I'll pick the Seahawks to win this one. Cardinals versus 49ers. You know, Mac Jones hasn't been pretty bad. He's been pretty good, actually, as a backup quarterback for the 49ers. And you know what? I'll pick them to win this game and stay undefeated on the season. Okay, Cowboys versus Bears. You know, the Bears they're another team that are having a rough season so far. You got Caleb Williams struggling so far. But you know what? This should be a close game between the Cowboys and the Bears. But you know what? I think I trust the Cowboys more to win this game. Okay, for the Sunday night game, we have Chiefs versus the Giants, who I believe neither team has won a game yet so far. Yeah, 0-2. You know, the Chiefs, they have to start winning some games if they want to get to where they want to go. And it starts Sunday night when they beat the Giants and finally get their first win of the season. Okay, and for the Monday night game, we have Lions versus Ravens. These are two evenly matched teams. You know, the Lions had a pretty impressive win last week when they completely beat down the Bears. What was it, 52-21? Yeah, that's pretty impressive. But since this game is in Baltimore, I'm going to pick the Ravens to win. Well, it looks like that's all the week 3 NFL games. Now let me know your predictions. See y'all later.